Good evening, good evening, good evening, and happy Tuesday. This is Tuesday Talks with Tonia. We're back for the 2024 season. We stepped away for a few months to refresh, reset, rebrand, but we're back and we're ready and we're excited to have a conversation tonight. For those that are joining for the first time, my name is Tonia Gibbons and I am the creator of Tuesday Talks with Tonia. It's a platform for women that supports, encourages, uplifts, supports other women. We create safe spaces for women and we share topics that are relevant to women. Now, we don't mind the men joining. I have had some discussions with all men panels as well, but it was basically a platform that was created for women in an environment where sometimes women are looked upon as catty or always in some kind of drama, and that's just not who we are. And I wanted to showcase that. So that's why I created Tuesday Talks with Tonia, because I'm about uplifting my sister, empowering my sister, sharing and supporting my sister. So that's what we aim to do at Tuesday Talks with Tonia. And so, for those of you joining for the first time, welcome and thank you for joining us. We appreciate you joining us on a Tuesday evening. If you're not in Georgia, where we are, the time is 6:34, and I have some folks on that are outside of the state, like in Kentucky, and I'm not sure where everybody else is from, but welcome. And I'm going to jump right into it. I'm going to have to put on glasses because, as we age, yeah, some things don't work like they used to, and I'm kind of vain, so I don't wear my glasses all the time, but I have to wear them when I'm reading. And so I'm going to read about our guest who I'm excited to chat with, Miss Sherry Coleman. I'm going to read her bio and then we're going to get started. So, Sherry Coleman is the newly appointed CEO of Easter Seals East Georgia, and she brings a wealth of experience and dedication to her role. She spent over 15 years in healthcare solutions, operations, and management. Her tenure as the Director of Operations at Optum reflects her expertise in this field. Prior to that, she served as the Director of Rehabilitation at Easter Seals East Georgia, demonstrating her commitment to human services. Sherry is a founding member of YAGA, Youth Against Gangs Activities, an award-winning after-school program in San Antonio, Texas. Her dedication to empowering youth is commendable. An annual leadership award bears her name, recognizing students who exhibit strong leadership and growth. Sherry holds a master's degree in public administration from Georgia Southern University. She also earned a bachelor's degree in criminal justice from Sam Houston State University. Sherry has resided in Augusta, Georgia for over 20 years. She shares her life with her husband, Wayne Coleman, for over 30 years, and she is a proud parent of 3 children and a doting grandmother to 3 grandchildren. Her remarkable journey exemplifies leadership, compassion, and community impact. That's an awesome bio for this awesome topic. The topic tonight is CEO, the journey to the top. And when I thought about CEO, I put in parentheses, conquering every obstacle, because becoming a CEO is not easy. And becoming a CEO can be challenging, it could be overwhelming. And so I just wanted Sherry to kind of tell her story and her journey of how she made it to become CEO of Easter Seal. So welcome, Sherry. Let's chat.
Let's chat.
Thank you for being my very first guest for 2024.
Yeah, I appreciate the invite. I appreciate the invite.
Absolutely. So where do you want to start?
Mm, you want to start childhood? No, I'm playing.
Hey, whatever works for you, because it really is a journey from childhood. A lot of
Yeah.
times we don't think about it when we're younger. My sister and I were laughing not too long ago. We used to put on plays in our backyard. We lived in Lawton, Oklahoma at the time.
Okay.
And my sister was the director, kind of. She would write out a script, and now that's what she actually does. That's what she has a passion for. And me, I was all about people and all about service. And, I thought I wanted to be a social worker when I grew up. And I am a form of a social worker in some of the work that I've done and even that I continue to do now. So you can absolutely start at childhood because that's
Start at
probably
the
where it
beginning.
started.
Well, I'll start with Yaga. That was an organization that I'm a founding member of from San Antonio. So I grew up in San Antonio, a really rough side on the east side of San Antonio, lots of gang violence. A number of our classmates, me and my husband are high school sweethearts. We've known each other since middle school. So a lot of our friends, were the same. And so throughout middle school into high school, gangs just got really bad in San Antonio. And we had a organization called Family Service Association that came to our school and wanted to start an advocacy group. And so we got to name the group. We got to set the parameters around the group. We did community service. We did fun stuff. We went out and spoke to legislators, and it just turned into a great program. And I don't want to age myself, but I've been out of high school. I think this is my 30th year reunion coming up. So yeah, it's been 30 years and the program is still going really strong. So me and Wayne got married right out of high school. We went to Sam Houston State, and after we graduated from there, went back to San Antonio and had an opportunity to work with Family Service and actually work in that organization. So I always knew that I wanted to work with people. I wanted to help people. I always knew that that's where my passion lied. And I've always just enjoyed the work of just being in the community. I think as leaders, though, you do get a little frustrated with the stuff that you can't change. And so when we left San Antonio, my husband joined the military, and this is how we ended up in Georgia. And so got to Georgia, and I started working for when I got to Augusta Department of Juvenile Justice. And so there I started the work transition program, which was getting those students in that facility ready to go to work. And so we created various job opportunities, helped them create resumes, created job sites on the facility so that we would be able to go back and, nurture them. But they also were able to earn money because a lot of those, students, once they're released, they have no place to go. And a lot of times they're released at 18, so their parents aren't obligated, to take them back in. So I did that. And at the time, YDC, I'm sure you guys, well, you remember this, was privatized.
Yeah.
And so at that time, we lost the contract. And that's how I ended up at Easter Seals. And I would have stayed at Easter Seals for 20 years. But the reality was I had 3 kids going to college, and nonprofit is just not as, very lucrative. So I ended up getting a great opportunity to work for, at the time it was Chamberlain Edmonds. And so that's where the healthcare comes in. And so our particular line of business, we worked with patients in the hospital to help them get benefits to help not just with their hospital bills, but also financial benefits like Social Security, disability, Medicaid. And so I did that for 15 years. And this year around, me and my husband were on our anniversary trip last year. And I got the call from the Easter Seal CEO, who was at the time was Lynn Smith, and she asked if I would like to take over. And I thought about it and prayed about it because we get comfortable where
Yeah.
we're at.
Yeah.
And when you work for people, work with people for 15 years, they're family.
Yeah.
And so, I really prayed about it. And, I talked to my husband about it. I talked to my friends about it. And I just didn't really know what to do. But then I was just led to just make this decision. And so coming in, it has been a challenge, but probably because I'm harder on myself than, anybody would be on me.
Mhm.
And so, you take for granted the fact when you work for a big company, if you have a HR issue, you can call HR department. If you have an issue here, you get to call this department. Well, I am the department. So
You're all departments.
I'm all departments, yes. So um, that that's pretty, I'm learning, and I do appreciate your leadership because, when I got in a position, I called you and I said, I don't know anybody. I haven't been out in the field in 15 years, really, and you came on and you pointed me in the right direction and, got some great people involved. And I'm just feeling my way one day at a time, just trying to tackle, one issue at a time. Um, Easter Seals is a great organization. We've been in Augusta for over 60 years, serving people with disabilities. And um, over the years, it's just, funding goes from one end to another. And, just like any other business, you'll repeat cycles. And so coming in, my goal is just to make Easter Seals great in Augusta, let everybody know we're here, and we're ready to serve, those individuals with disabilities.
And talk a little bit
Um,
about that because I think even me, when I came to meet with you, not really understanding all of the things that Easter Seals did, all of
mhm.
the opportunities that they provide. We hear Easter Seals, or maybe we see it on TV, but we're really not connected in what they do and how they serve and how they provide for people with disabilities. So talk a little bit about that, what you guys provide, the services you offer, and your
So
target population.
our target population, it kind of varies a little bit. We have several programs. So we can start from, pretty much birth to, 70, 80 years old, depending on the line of service that you want. So for our children, we have a Champions for Children program, which works with families who are not eligible for Katie Beckett Medicaid. So Katie Beckett Medicaid is a special Medicaid in the state of Georgia. Well, it's in a lot of states, but for Georgia, because that's what I'm specifically talking about, it's for families who have children who don't qualify for SSI benefits due to income limits and they meet a level of disability. They could potentially qualify for that type of Medicaid. They don't count the parents', income resources, or it's a minimal count of income and resources. We have a program that we can assist families up to $3,000 a year on therapies, just different things that they may need day to day in order, to be able to function. So that program, like I said, it can start at birth. All you need is a Katie Beckett denial letter, and most of the denial letters are going to say because that individual doesn't meet that level of care. So the level of care would be they would be institutionalized, and that's kind of what the letter is going to say. Well, they don't meet the level of care, and so we'd be able to assist.
Okay.
And our bread and butter is our workforce development. So we work with ages probably start about 14, sometimes a little younger, just depending on the direction that individual wants to go. We work with vocational rehabilitation, and they provide the funding for us to be able to assist those individuals with job training opportunities, classes, resume writing. We can do vocational evaluations to determine what are their specialized skill set, and then that can help us find jobs within industry in Augusta. We have several industry leaders that we work with that assist us with allowing us to come in and bring that individual in and have them do some job training. And it could lead to employment if it's a good fit. But if not, we find something else. We have lifelong individuals that work with our agency. So if they have problems with a job, they can always call and we can send a job coach, to assist them and get them back on track. I just had a young gentleman come in the other day that lost his job because of reduction in workforce. We're actively trying to help him find a job now. Um, so that's the big chunk of what we do. We also have an autism group that we are partnering with vocational rehab and the Mosaic group, and it's a socialization group. And so they meet twice a week, and they go on, different outings, different classes. It's a support group. It's just a good resource in Augusta for those children with autism. And that range, that's what I'm saying, the age range, it just depends. Some of them are, I think the youngest is 7, I think Lynn told me. And then they go up to like 21 or 22. So we have that going on. And then we also have contracts with Department of Transportation, where we hire individuals with disability to work those contracts. And so we have the Welcome Center here in Georgia, up the
Mhm.
street, and the 2 Welcome Centers in Thompson
Yeah.
and then Dublin. So all of those are um, all the individuals that work there are part of Easter Seals and have gone through training and, have been placed for the most part there, or they're hired directly because they're ready to go to work. But the majority of those individuals have disabilities. We also have a federal contract with the courthouse, and we have individuals that do the custodial work there. Um, the bankruptcy, Chapter 13 building, we have custodial individuals that work there. And that's the majority. I hope I'm not missing anything. But that's the
But that's a
majority of the
lot.
services that we
You
provide.
educated me a lot when you told me they were, at the welcome centers and they were in the courthouses, and you
Mhm,
just never know when you're coming across an individual who is from your organization that is out in the public doing work, that sometimes people dismiss them or don't even think that they are, can work a part of the workforce because of their disability, and that's just not true. Um,
mhm,
my granddaughter is autistic, and so, but she's smart. She's 3, and I'm looking at her like she's nonverbal, but you can tell she understands well, and she's just not a social person. Like, she don't like people, but
yeah.
she has been operating a tablet and a phone since she came out of the womb, and she's able to do things that I'm like, how does she know how to do that? So, it's good to know that there are services out there for individuals like that, for families like that, because sometimes people just don't know what they don't know. And the transition from being an employee to being the boss, how was that? I mean, I know you were a boss over people at Optum, but this is a different level of being a boss.
You're right. It's I think I was prepared to come into this role because of Optum. You know, um, the great thing about working with that organization is you had your territory and they pretty much let you run it, but if you had like HR issues or, any specific issues that weren't related to operations, you had somebody you could send them to. But to a certain extent, you still had to know, be knowledgeable. Um, I think that's just the biggest thing is that I have to, I have to know a little bit of everything to be dangerous. And um, I'm trying to catch on as quick as I can. But every day it's something new. Like I can just give an example. Like today, our um, person that's over the custodial crew, she said, well, Sherry, they're not doing free background checks at Richmond County anymore. We need to make a decision on, who we're going with. And, you have to be able to think globally, because right,
Yeah.
you're like, oh, just pick the cheapest one and keep going. But we're accredited by CARF, which is an organization that make sure that we are doing what we are supposed to be doing and keeping high standards. So you have to read that contract and make sure, hey, can I do it this way? Then we have vocational rehab. You have to read that contract and say, what does it say? How many times, do we have to do it yearly? So, it's just things like that that I didn't really have to think about before, that now I have to make sure all my bases are covered, before I make a decision. And so I think that's the biggest thing, and just um taking one step at a time and not coming in and saying, you know, some things need to change, I think as whenever you come into a new job, that's like the first thing you kind of think of is like, how can I make it better? And so, the organization was running before I got here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
had to remember that,
Yeah.
and kind of step back. And I did have, some great confidants that I can speak to that would be like, Sherry, slow down, take a breath,
Yeah.
sit down, and just take it a little bit at a time. So allowing, the organization to run on cruise control while I'm learning,
Right.
what I need to learn.
Right. And I think sometimes that can be a challenge, especially if you're used to being in a leadership position.
Mm.
And like you said, coming into a new organization, you're not really, even though you're familiar, you've been, removed from it for an extended amount of time. And so things have changed, systems have changed, people have changed. And coming in, you do want to make sure that you're coming in with help and not hurting the organization or the people because of the way we think or the way we think things should operate. But just
Right.
really, like you said, taking your time, slowing down to review each and every part of the organization to say, how can we become better? How can we become more efficient? How can we become more fiscally responsible? Because from a nonprofit standpoint, that's huge. Making sure you have the funding to carry out all of the missions that you have laid out, but also making sure because we know nonprofit does not pay well. However, the work can be rewarding, but you still want to compensate your employees. So, how have you managed those challenges do you have enough employee support? Do you have enough external support? What does that look like now that you're the CEO? Do people feel like, oh, you should know what you're doing, or do they give you some grace and say, hey, this is new to her too?
Yeah. I think everybody that knows me knows that I don't just like to give answers. If I don't know, I'm going to tell you I don't know. I'm a pretty transparent person. Um, but I do look for the solution. I don't leave it right there.
Mhm.
Um, I think I have my, very first staff meeting tomorrow with the whole staff. And right now we're running, and I just need you to trust me,
Yeah.
you know. And so, we just got some great opportunities with vocational rehabilitation. We're going to be in all of the high schools teaching pre-employment training classes, and all of this stuff is happening like really fast. Um, my grandmother used to say, you want to make God laugh? Tell him,
Tell them your plans.
tell him,
Tell them
yeah,
your plans, what you gonna
yeah.
do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I'm just really just trusting the process and trusting that all the energy that we're putting into every avenue is going to pay off,
Yeah.
you know. Um I am a very I like to think of myself as a very fair person. So when you come in, and of course, you hear all of your employees have different perspectives on how things should be run. And this, I'm listening and I'm taking it all in, and I'm not going to forget about it, but I can only do what I can do with what we have right now.
Yeah.
And so the goal is to, of course, increase so that we can grow, so that, the employees can be paid,
Right.
fair wages and all of that. Not just the employees that work for Easter Seals, but the individuals that work for us that are coming from that, having a disability. You have to make special accommodations, and you have to, pick just the right jobs that are going to fit those individuals' needs. And so that's just my major focus. Yes, we want to grow the business. We want to, generate revenue, but our priority is to serve as many people as we can. But the reality is no money, no mission.
Right.
So you have to keep it balanced. And that's what I'm learning.
Yeah.
I'm learning to kind of balance everything and um just, do what I can.
Yeah.
And I'm the type of person, I'm going to do the best that I can with whatever I have.
Mhm.
And one of the things that I've been working on these past couple of months is just building up the board and getting that support. And
Mhm.
I feel like once our foundation is laid, it's up from here.
Yeah, and that is key. That is key. Having a good solid board, somebody that, a group of individuals that will collectively support you, support the organization, support the mission. And sometimes that can be a challenge because if you don't have the right board and the right balance, then it could be a little crazy and hectic. And from a CEO standpoint, you have to manage not only staff, but you also have to manage a board. And there are so many different people and personalities and all those things that come along with managing people or overseeing people. So how do you find that balance? Because sometimes I know it's probably overwhelming. Where do you go and find balance? Like, you said you have some folks that you bounce things off of. Do you have a group of girlfriends that may be in similar positions? What is your safe space, if you would call it that, when you're not having to think about the board and the employees and the constituents that you service?
Yeah, I do have a group of girlfriends that I can kind of bounce things off of, and they bring me right back into reality, as you would say. And so, and I try not to bother them too much, but sometimes I'm just like ready to bust, and I have to like pick up the phone and say, "Hey, I need to run this by you. I don't know what to do." And they're like, "You know what to do. Stop it."
Right.
You know. So, I mean, yeah, I do. One of um, when I was in yoga, it was well, it is a lady named Shannon Nesbitt, and she is a CEO in San Antonio. One of my best friends is a CFO at a major nonprofit. I have various, just different friends who are in management positions or who are in high level, um, I guess, corporate positions that can kind of, I can bounce, things off of. So I'm in great company, and I try to relax. I try to do some self-love every now and then. My daughter has her own um, beauty business. So I can go there and, let off some steam or, I do things with my husband that are fun. Like we're going to see Ashanti this weekend.
Hey,
So
me too.
I have my little rewards, so that I can, keep everything balanced. And of course, my
Yeah.
grandbabies, they keep me on my toes. And I love spending time with them. So when I have to walk away from it, I do try to just walk away from it. And then it seems like the next day it'll come to me what I need to do, or confirmation, something that just confirms it, will let me know. But I
And that's
try
the
to
good
keep a
thing.
good balance.
Yeah. That's a good thing about not reacting in the moment or not immediately responding, because a
Mhm,
lot of times I think we respond too quickly because we think that's what we should do. But
mhm.
sometimes you just have to sit with something for a minute before you make a decision, before you I had to learn that the hard way because
Yeah,
something happens and something is said, and I'm like, yeah, 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 yeah. And then later on, I'm like, dang, why did I do that? I shouldn't have did that. I shouldn't have said that, instead of sitting with it. And it's good. I like what you said. You have girlfriends and people in your circle that can help you on this journey, because it does take all of us. Because a lot of times we suffer ourselves because we always try to be the Lone Ranger. I know I do. I have a bad habit of that.
mhm,
I'm the Lone Ranger. I got to do this by myself. There's nobody that understands. Nobody can help me, but that's not the truth. But a lot of times where I have the superwoman syndrome, so I can only speak for myself. I know I can recognize and acknowledge my flaws. I have the superwoman syndrome where, oh, I can do it all. I can do everything. And then when I get home, like even now, I got knots in my shoulders and back hurting, and it's like,
yep,
girl, because you're doing too much. Sit down. Just sit
yeah,
down. Just take a minute and breathe, and just you can't save the world, even though we think we can. But having, folks, and some of my folks are on here now that I do call when things are haywire or when I need some help and support. And, even my sister get me quick. She'll, hey, you doing too much or something, but sisters can do that. And that's good that you have girlfriends, which is what this platform is really about. How can we support? How can we be helpful? How can we encourage and empower our sister? Because a lot of times, and that's why when I created Tuesday Talks, it was really about how do we help each other be better? How do we not only help each other be better, but how do we pull the next one up? We've made it to a certain level. Now let's reach back and bring some others with us. Let's not be selfish and, just I don't want to share information. I've seen that too many times, and it's sad to see because I'm like, well, you didn't get where you are by yourself. Why would you not want to share? But I know people have different reasons and things of that nature. But at the end of the day, I think the more that we share and encourage, like when you call me, I was like, oh, Sherry, hey, yeah, what can I do? Because that's just me. Like, how can I help? How can I be helpful? And I appreciate you, picking up the call because you could have called anybody, but you entrusted me, and I'm grateful for that. And I'm always like, hey, if I think about somebody, like I see a couple of your board members on with us now, and I'm glad that they are a part of your board. And I think that they will be very, very helpful and supportive of you and of the mission and of everything that you have going on at Easter Seals. We have a lot of people joining, and I'm so glad to see all of you that have joined since we've been chatting with Miss Sherry Coleman, the newly installed CEO of Easter Seals East Georgia. So thank you all for joining the conversation. And if you don't mind, Sherry, I'm going to open it up for anyone who may have questions about your role, about the CEO journey, about anything that you've talked about so far. So the floor is yours, and I'm going to share a couple of the chats. So one of the chats says, let's see, no amount is too small. Click here to give. That's a board member. The best thing that could have happened for Easter Seal in the community. Oh, that's sweet.
Aw,
Yep,
thank
absolutely.
y'all. Y'all gonna make me cry. Y'all are gonna make me cry. I do have to say that I have gotten a lot of support. We're doing a partnership with Viva for the taxes,
Mm-hmm.
where people in the community can come and get their taxes done for free.
Okay.
And one of the young men that worked for the organization, he sent me a message and he was like, I just love your leadership. And, sometimes you just don't know that people are really paying attention
Mm-hmm.
to the things you do. It's just little things. And I've only met him like 2 times, but
Wow.
we had one conversation and he felt compelled to send me that message. And I do really appreciate that, because sometimes your tank is kind of low,
Mm-hmm.
and then
Mm-hmm.
it just brings it right back,
Yep.
to where you can just continue to go on. So, I just appreciate, all the board members have been very supportive. Um, I've got some really good board members. I mean, they're ready to come on and get to work. So I'm just excited at where this is going to go. I'm just so excited to see the end, and I'm at the
Yeah,
beginning.
absolutely. Absolutely.
And so
Is
I
it Miss Stacy Nellums? Did you have a question? I see you took your mic off. You're off mute. I don't know if I'm saying the name right.
yeah.
But in the meantime, April says Sherry is exactly where God needs her to be. She has a heart and passion to help others.
Oh, thank you. That's my cousin, y'all.
Oh, hey, that's good. Family
Yeah.
love. We appreciate that.
Yeah, I really do appreciate it. I've talked to her a couple of times too, called her and like, and she just, redirects me back where I need to go.
That's awesome. Does anybody have any questions? You could either put the raise your hand up sign or take your mic off mute and ask any questions you may have.
I have a question.
Okay,
I
go
know
ahead.
that you were talking. Oh, sorry. Let me put my camera on. Hooray, there I am. I know that you were speaking about how with nonprofits, the income doesn't match the corporate sector. How is that transition from being in an environment where you could make not even a generous income, but your income definitely surpasses that of a nonprofit? I know that when my mom worked, you could tell private versus public sector, and it was always a huge pay cut. And so I know that a lot of times people do it out of passion. but we also know passion doesn't pay bills. How were you able to transition? Was it because you had a husband and a second income versus someone that may want to get into it and they're single?
Good
I
question.
think that's a great question. I think for me, I had a great salary. I had opportunities for bonuses, and over the years, we were able to save up. Me and my husband knew that I wanted to transition into something that was going to be more meaningful for me.
Right.
And so when I came to Easter Seals, I had that in mind because I worked for Easter Seals 15 years ago, and um, I knew that now I know how to negotiate salaries, and if nobody else on here knows that, negotiate your salary,
Right.
okay? It doesn't. I mean, if a business wants you bad enough, they
Mhm.
will do what needs to be done to procure you, okay?
Right.
So I tried to be as fair as possible, and I got what I needed in order for me to live and continue to live the life that I live. And yeah, my husband owns his own business, so that doesn't, hurt. So, I was just able to personally make that decision for myself. And I
Right.
was just in a position mentally where I knew I wanted something different.
Right.
I was put here for a purpose, and I needed
Right.
to try to figure out what that purpose was.
Right.
And so it has been a transition, but I know I'm where God wants me to be because I've not missed a step in anything.
Right.
It has been seamless.
Okay. Thank you.
That was a good
You're
question.
welcome.
Anybody else have a question? And I like the part about you can negotiate salaries. I tell people that all the time. Either you want me or you don't. And if you don't, it's okay. I'm all right with it. But this is my price. This is what I charge, and it is what it is.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's how I've come. It took a while to get there, but when you know your worth, you won't settle for less. No matter whether it's for profit, nonprofit, friend, foe, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you're absolutely correct. And that part of the business decision used to always give me anxiety. Like, I really want to work here, but I don't, I'm scared to ask for what I feel like I'm worth. If you don't ask, you'll never know. All they can do is say no. And you have to be okay with I don't know, disappointment sometimes, I guess, because that just makes you stronger. You know what I mean? In the end, you don't see it all when you're doing it, but
Right.
years later, you'll be like, oh, okay, this is why.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I definitely
I
agree.
see RJ Perez said vision, a lot of grant writing to help with the nonprofit salaries, the nonprofit's way of raising capital for the company, and that's true.
Yeah.
Some nonprofits, they ask the grant writer to write themselves into the grant or, write positions into the grant. So yeah, I do know that is also a way. Leidra says, what would you say are your top 3 asks from the community to support you in Easter Seals?
Deidre, you would ask a hard question. I think not necessarily would I have an ask for the community, but I think that we have to prove ourselves to the community to a certain extent. And part of that is exposure, letting them know that we're here, um, getting out in the community, doing what it is that we're supposed to be doing, 95% of the time. Of course, money.
Yeah.
We could always use the money. We have some great fundraisers that we're in the process of planning. So I just booked our golf tournament, which is going to be October 7th at Belle Meade. So the board members are going to be on that.
Yay, yay,
Yay,
yay.
yay, yay, yay. And then we're also going to do some things with the Green Jackets, and I've met with a couple of other people. So we're trying to, do some different things to keep the fundraising young and active. Like, I loved your event where you did the pickleball. I didn't even know what pickleball was, but
Listen,
I went in
I
there,
didn't
it
either.
was serious. You hear me?
I
I
know
was
it.
like, ooh, let me step back. Cause I mean, they were competing. I was like, oh my goodness.
They
But they were
were.
having a lot of fun too.
Yeah.
And it was
Yeah.
all ages. It
Yes.
wasn't just young people, it
All
was older
ages,
people in there
all
playing.
demographics.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, it was just great to watch.
Yeah. That was pickleball was new to me. Our younger administrative assistant, she brought it to our attention. She's like, "Yeah, we should do a pickleball tournament." We were like, "What?" Yeah, surely. But when I tell you, they're already asking like, "When's the next one?" And I was like, "Okay, there's something to it." Then even another nonprofit that we actually have a MOU with, he reached out and was like, "Hey, Tanya, about that pickleball, you think y'all could teach me or share with me?" I was like, "Hey, we might be able to partner. We're not gonna give you our secrets, but we'll be able to partner and help
Partner,
you,
yeah.
do something on a bigger scale that will benefit both of us." So that's how I think about how can we collaborate and do this even bigger. So yeah, that was a learning experience, and you learn in nonprofits, you have to do things that are out of the box because fundraising the way it used to be is no longer. People don't separate with their money as easily as they used to. And because of Augusta and the nonprofits, the number of nonprofits we have per capita in just the city, it's hard when you're competing for the same dollars. And so it's really about what do you connect with? What do people connect with? Telling your story and getting people to buy into your story or, feeling like they can align with what your mission is. And so I'm learning that nonprofit has been something that, I'm in now, but I started as a consultant and crazy me agreed to be interim executive director until I can find them one. But I'm learning a lot about that space that I knew some about, but not a whole lot. But now I'm learning a lot and I'm like, wow. So yeah, nonprofits can be challenging, but they can be rewarding as well.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
I agree. But I think just to end that question, I think I owe it to the community first to let them know who we are and what we do before I can really do an ask, because just like you weren't fully familiar with all the services. So before I ask you, I need to inform you. So I just think the community just to be open to receiving the information. Um, I think the nonprofits in general have a struggle now because the younger generation just isn't accustomed to giving like the older generation was to, various causes that they really felt good about. So we have to think outside of the box in order to, capture those um, individuals that want to give to something that's meaningful to them. So I've kind of made it my mission to just get out in the community, let them know we're here, let them know what we do. You know, we have great support from local industry. I'm hoping that I'll get a grant writer one day, but right now I'm the grant writer. So, doing that and some of the board members have shared just some really great information on just how to do sponsorship packages and just things like that. So those are the kind of things that I'm working on. And of course, we have a partnership with United Way, so they do some, marketing for us to a certain extent. So it's just, I think the first step is just letting everybody know we're here, letting everybody know what we do. And one of the things that I do want to do is to find what services are needed within that disability community and be able to create them. I don't know how to do that yet, but it's on my list. I think that a lot of the disability organizations within Augusta can partner and really be very effective because essentially we're all dealing with the same population. It's just different levels. So me learning what everybody does so I know who to refer, that's been the first step. If it's something that we can't do, I need to find somebody,
Right.
that can help you. And that's what I'm learning now.
We have a hand raised, Miss Deidre Robertson. You're on mute. There you go.
Okay, yeah. Hi, everybody. How y'all doing tonight?
Good, ma'am. How are you? Thank you for joining.
Thank you. Miss Sherry, I heard you when you were talking earlier about going into the y'all were gonna do vote rehab back with the schools again.
Mhm.
Great thing. That's really great. That's something that they're looking for now. But let's say we have a 17, 18-year-old young man just graduated from high school. Um, he has a disability and it's hard for him to find a job. Um, I know that, do y'all have, is it a program that y'all have that they come in with y'all to start working with you all there at the office first so we can get them set up for it?
So what we do, particularly in that situation, I'm assuming this person is still in high school or they already graduated.
Yeah, they graduated.
Okay. So what we would do is we would hook them up with vocational, Georgia Vocational Rehabilitation to get a vocational evaluation. And then they would come to us. We'd offer classes where we saw that they may have gaps of what they need. Once we finish those classes, we go out in the community and find a job. So years ago, when I was with Easter Seals 15 years ago, we had a warehouse where we did like piece rate work. And that's how we were able to capture how, efficient this person was in terms of how fast they could go, how, how many mistakes did they make? We were able to kind of, gauge it that way. But new legislation came in and said all people have to be paid the same, regardless, of disability. And so we've created community partnerships. Like we have a partnership with Carol Fabrics. We have a partnership with, I don't want to say the wrong one, John Deere, Club Car, one of them, where they'll actually let us bring participants in so they can get real live on the job training with a job coach. It's somebody there with them. And we're with them as long as need be. We just had a participant that was on a program, had a job coach for almost a year. And that's just the kind of support that they needed. And so, once we, determine, we try to wing them off, maybe we're there just an hour out of your 4-hour shift, or, then we wean off 2 telephone calls and check-ins, but it's a constant communication between that job coach and that participant and that employer. And at the end of the trial period, we give that employer first opportunity to hire that individual. And the great thing about our partnership is a lot of the employers that we do work with, they will customize jobs just for our individuals,
So the
and
first place, excuse me,
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. I didn't mean
Go
to
ahead.
cut you. The first place they need to go through is through our vote rehab here at
They
do the
can.
school.
They can,
Okay.
the schools are supposed to be connected with Voc Rehab
Okay. Well, I know,
already.
and this is real funny that you say that. I really hate that my baby teacher's out. She's been out because she's sick right now. But my son is Marshall. He's artistic. I can say that. But we have he got in the 9th grade, coming in school at 14 and a half years old. When we got there, his first day of school, that was the first thing she did with us. She went through that whole ordeal. So when his transition for him coming out of high school, I won't have to deal, most people deal with it later on. She started that with us early, which I like. But I am really glad to hear you say that they have brought the vote rehab back, because they had took so much out of our SPED departments here in Richmond County with vote rehab. That's why it's like a gap. Like you said earlier, it's such a gap between the transitioning from high school to adulthood when they get out of school.
Right. And I mean, if we have participants that don't necessarily qualify for Voc Rehab, we do have grant funding that we're utilizing for that. Even if it's a gap in, that funding source being set up, we can work some things around so that we can still be able to serve that participant. Yeah. And we're also gone back into Department of Juvenile Justice at Augusta YDC, and we're trying to offer those same services with Voc Rehab when we know that student is going to be 6 to 9 months upon getting released from that facility. We're going in, doing classes, creating jobs on campus. We're doing things like that so that once they're released, we're hooking up with vocational rehabilitation in that area to pick up and let them know, hey, this person is job ready. So by the time that they get out within the next week or so, they're able to walk on a job.
Okay, and my last question is, if we had people that wanted to volunteer with you, is it somewhere that they sign up or just come to your office?
Yeah, you guys can just you can come to my office. I can post the address, but we're at 1930 Highland Avenue, right next to Aquinas High School. My email, scoleman@easterseals.org.
Jennifer, I was just doing that, but go ahead.
Yeah, Jennifer on
Yeah,
it. Jennifer posted the address.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Post the address, telephone number 706-667-9695. I'm sorry. I should know it by heart, but I haven't had to call it enough. So yeah. If you want to volunteer, we'll be more than happy to have you. And any kind of partnership opportunities that, we can engage in, we're very open to that. I know, Deidre, you have your autism walk coming up soon.
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Okay, so make sure you let us know so we can be there in full force.
Yes, ma'am.
Yep.
Oh, and I was gonna put it in the chat just in case, but I heard you saying when one of them asked you, I think it was Miss Collins, when Miss Collins said about what as far as helping, and you was like resources. I know Miss Tonia has already let you know that March the 21st is the resource conference here. So
Okay.
that's a great place to come network. And you probably already on the list, but if not, make sure you get on there and sign in and get up and do your little 1 minute.
That's right. 90 seconds.
90 seconds. Get your 90
Yes.
seconds in and, get your flyers and put them in the bag. But I just wanted to make sure that I got that information out for those, if anyone was on here that probably would have wanted to know that, because that would have been something I wanted to know as far as volunteering with you and finding out where you were located.
Well, thank you. And if you can put that resource information in the chat just to be sure, I want to make sure it's on my calendar. I appreciate it.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
It's in
Thanks,
there.
Tanya.
You're welcome. And that's exactly what this is about, sharing resources, sharing information. I see Jennifer's on it. Jennifer has put your address, your email address, and she also said, sounds like the beginning of a beautiful conference, disability services, etc. And so, yes, what Deidre is referring to is the Resource Augusta conference. They do a conference every year where Angela Bakos has took it upon herself to create a list of all the resources in Augusta. And what she does is every year she verifies to make sure they're still in business, who's the point of contact, because unfortunately, even the city doesn't have a comprehensive list of all of the services and resources that are in the community. And so Miss Angela Bakos, because of a need she had, and she was being led 100 different ways and finding out numbers were changed, people weren't in business, all these things, she created a resource list for those that are either nonprofit, those that service our community, and she will give you access to all of those partners. And you come to the resource conference, and anybody who signs up and wants to, they can speak for 90 minutes about their organization, about their needs, about an upcoming event. So definitely be a
90
part.
seconds.
90
Not
seconds.
90 minutes.
And they have somebody that will, if you're not finished, they're standing right there to escort
I'm
you
telling you that
politely off of the podium.
yes, they will.
So yeah. Thank you, Deidre, for that reminder as well.
You're welcome.
This has been an amazing conversation. Is there anything else you want to share, Miss Sherry, before we wrap it up? Or are there any questions or comments before we wrap it up for the evening? I see my cousin Liza is on. Are you in Missouri or are you in Georgia? You're in Missouri? Okay, yep. All right. Well, hey, cousin.
I just thank everybody for joining. It's just an overwhelming feeling to have just a really good support system. It's a lot of my ex-coworkers. I don't know, you're not supposed to call them that, but people I used to work with that are
Your
on here
former
support me, and I
colleagues,
really
former
appreciate you
colleagues.
guys.
Mhm.
I miss y'all. But I know that I'm walking in my purpose, but I do miss you guys. And I just appreciate all the love and support, and that anybody would even get on here and listen to little old me.
Aw,
I'm grateful.
aw. Somebody took their phone off. Julius.
It's Disa. Hello.
Hey, how are
Hello.
you?
Hi, ladies. I have a question. So, do you guys have any, what platforms do you have where we can share when you're doing fundraisers? Is there, besides the website, is there a way for us to go out and share when you guys have open fundraisers?
I guess I should have said this when Leader asked what I need. So we do have a Facebook page and we have a website. I am learning to navigate the Facebook page, and one of our board members, Jennifer Toole, is helping me, promote some stuff. And Lidra has, said that, she'd be willing to help. I just have to get some time where I can sit down and somebody can show me how to use Facebook effectively. I mean, of course, I've used it personally, but the business page looks way different than, your
Yes.
everyday page. So those would be the platforms we'll utilize. We will also be utilizing like the business. Gosh, it just slipped my mind.
Do you guys have something like Givelify or any of those donation platforms that, people can click a QR code and it'll take them to a donate button? Or
I know, like when we do fundraisers, they will get that QR code. On our website, we do have a donate button. It's Easter Seals East Georgia. And it's also an opportunity for you to sign up and receive personalized messages, not just from us, but from the National Easter Seals. Because there's a lot of legislation that's happening that a lot of people are not aware of. Like we're in the fight for wheelchair accessibility on airplanes. That is a really big issue right now. And so that's one of the things that we're really working towards. But we have a lot of legislative agendas in just various areas that we're working to get support for too. The fundraising thing is real new to me. So that's something that I'm getting good people around me that know what they're doing. Our board chair, Dawn, is amazing. She knows a little bit of everything and a little bit of everybody. So she's been a really good ally in this, keeping me on track. So that's something good, Disa, for me to, just keep in mind. I'm going to have to learn how to update the webpage. So some of that stuff is not as accurate as it needs to be, but hopefully within the next month or so, we'll get that taken care of, and it'll be a true reflection of what Easter Seals East Georgia does.
awesome. Yes, Jennifer is on it. She's posted the Facebook homepage in the chat. So,
Yeah.
and Alicia says, "We love you. So happy for you and your new journey."
Thank you.
This has been an amazing conversation. Thank you, Sherry. I'm so glad that you were able to join as the
Thank
first
you.
guest of Tuesday Talks with Tonia for 2024. So thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
And we look forward to seeing you around the community serving. Ladies, you know how we do at Tuesday Talks. We absolutely share. We absolutely support. We will go and like the Easter Seals page, and we're here as a resource if you need us. Tuesday Talks, I'm quite sure Deidre with Mom Moving Over Mountains Against Autism is the same. We're here as a partnership, as a collaboration. There's plenty of work for everybody to do, but we all can do something. So thank you, Miss Sherry. Thank you all for joining this edition of Tuesday Talks with Tonia. We will see you back again in 2 weeks. If you're able to join us, like and follow the Facebook page. We're on Facebook, on Instagram. I don't really use the Instagram that much. I'm like Sherry, like, yeah, it's just, but I may be getting an intern that can handle that kind of stuff. So, but definitely like and follow the Facebook page. You can keep up with what we're doing and things that we're working on. And thank you so much, Jennifer. I think that was you that said, thanks, Tonia. Great work. Thank you. Thank you.
That's awesome.
It's my pleasure. I love this community, even though I'm not from here. I've been here long enough and it's home now. And anything that I can do or anything that I can offer and lend to make sure that this community is the best that it can be, that is what I aim to do. So thank you all. I hope you all have a safe and happy Tuesday. And I'll see you back in about 2 weeks. Have a good night, everybody.
Thanks again, Tonia. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Love you, cuz. Good night.
Honorary Augusta Buster. Love you too, cousin.
Awesome. Thank you for the invite.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right.
Good night, everybody.